So thank you and welcome to the first YOUNGO press conference at COP29. The stakes are high, and as YOUNGO, that's the official children and youth constituency to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. We will be present during the 2 weeks here at COP29 in Baku and advocate for immediate action to achieve climate justice and also to ensure that the voices and concerns of children and youth are heard worldwide. Following the delay of the agenda adoption yesterday of over 9 hours, we hope this does not set the tone for a COP that delivers more delays. As we approach the next 2 weeks, it's vital that policymakers act with the urgency that the climate crisis requires.
The Global Youth Statement represents this collective voice of children and youth in the United Nations climate change process. This year's document speaks directly to the negotiation rooms at COP29, aligning with the recently published provisional agendas. Based on the latest science, consultations, and the urge for a future for all, children and youth from over 150 countries gathered concrete demands to the agenda items of COP29. From the local stage of more than 80 local to the regional and global level conferences of youth, more than 2,200 children and youth have volunteered more than 76,000 hours to create this statement. We thereby push for our demands to be delivered on the road to COP, encouraging policies to be more ambitious and urgently address the climate crisis. You can find the full version of the Global Youth Statement online. We urge parties as well as all stakeholders to act upon those demands. It was very unfortunate that civil society, including YOUNGO, was not allowed to take the floor in the opening plenary. This shows deep cuts into the democratic and open structure of the processes.
Moving on, we're going to talk about our working group's key demands for this COP. Starting off, it is the Finance and Market Working Group. The NCQG is not the moment to use the debate around contributor base as a reason to jeopardize the Paris Agreement agreed structure. This is emphatically about historical responsibility. Developed countries cannot deflect their responsibilities. In the NCQG First Contact Group, we heard many developed countries stating that the current co-chaired prepared text had many misstated rights. A rights-based approach to the NCQG is fundamental, and particularly the rights to children and youth and our rights to a healthy and livable planet is not up for debate. In this COP, we're calling for 3 key things. First, all parties must respect and promote their respective obligation on human rights, specifically to the rights of indigenous people, local communities, women and diverse gender groups, people with disabilities, migrants, refugees, workers, children and youth, as well as ensuring finance for climate actions is responsive to these groups. Second, we need to ensure direct access of efficient and transparent climate finance for that meets the needs and priorities of indigenous people, local communities, women and diverse gender groups, people with disabilities, migrants, refugees, workers, children and youth, at minimum of 25%. And last but not least, loss and damage cannot be lost in the NCQG text. Regarding Article 6, we at YOUNGO remain concerned that a rush decision during the opening plenary are becoming a recurrent pattern, which also jeopardize the integrity of the party-driven consensus-based system. In the upcoming negotiations, party must develop a transparent and robust infrastructure for Article 6.2 and ensure all units trade under Article 6.2 and 6.4 are real, verified, additional, and net zero aligned. Otherwise, it risks becoming merely an offset tool that endangers the 1.5-degree goal. Passing on to the Just Transition Working Group.
Relating to international solidarity and justice, YOUNGO welcomes the willingness of parties to discuss trade measures related to climate change in the UNFCCC. However, as observers, we are deeply concerned with the intended format of these discussions. Limiting the consultations with the presidency makes it impossible for non-party stakeholders to engage in this significant debate, therefore undermining the principle of procedural justice. International cooperation sits at the heart of collective climate action to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement. A global just transition entails accounting for cross-border implications of policies, including trade measures. Parties must enact ambitious policies to reduce emissions, both at home and in their supply chains. But this must not be done in a way that does create injustices elsewhere. Regarding to gender equality, gender and the climate crisis are naturally intertwined. This is not only the finance COP, but the gender COP. We urge parties to prioritize gender equality across all climate negotiations and policies while incorporating intersectional approaches. In COP29, we as children and youth call for gender-responsive frameworks in national climate plans, educational initiatives engaging males on gender-specific challenges, support women-led initiatives, inclusive market systems, children and youth engagement, and equal representations of all gender in decision-making processes. We strive to see the outcome of COP29 highlight the importance of women's roles in climate action, gender-inclusive COPs and policies addressing systemic barriers, and gender-based violence, including healthcare and emergency response mechanisms to protect women and girls in climate-vulnerable regions.
For food and agriculture, we call for rapid and real fossil fuel phase out. As such, parties should avoid supporting solutions like biofuels and high-input systems that hinder progress in climate action and food security. In short, parties should not support solutions that slow fossil fuel phase out and should not delay emission reduction in agriculture. Instead, parties should integrate a food system approach into all climate actions like the Sharm el-Sheikh Joint Work, GGA, and NDC, as well as integrate resilient and equitable food system into national climate plans such as NDCs and NAP. To spin this point further, parties should prioritize food system agriculture, food sovereignty and security at COP29 and feature UNFCCC COP with sustainable event logistics, such as plant-based catering. At this year's COP, we lack sustainable options, such as plant-based meal options, which are also affordable for children and youth. Action of climate empowerment. Regarding SPI, Agenda Item 18, matters regarding ACE, we expect to see this finance COP deliver progress toward solving the chronic gap in finance for ACE implementation. For the end, Youth-led Climate Forum. The Youth-led Climate Forum is a platform dedicated to amplifying youth voices in the climate policy arena, supported by the COP29 presidency and the YOUNGO. Youth-led Climate Forum foster direct dialogue between young climate advocates and policy makers, ensuring that children and youth perspectives shape climate strategies. Across the forum's sessions will spotlight key themes critical to children and youth, including intergenerational equity in climate finance, health and educational equity, sustainable agriculture, food security, equity, water resource management, climate mobility and loss and damage. The Youth-led Climate Forum kicked off on November 13, with thematic dialogues from November 16, each led by children and youth and prominent negotiators. The forum will culminate in hurdle line event on November 18. Prominent negotiators, the forum, several sessions is night presenting the 2024 Global Youth Statement to high-level dignitaries, making a unified children and youth voice in urgent climate action.
We are advocating for climate justice, YOUNGO on the ground. Children and youth voices are anything but silent at COP29, and we're bringing energy and clarity to every moment. Our day kicks off with spoke sessions where we map out negotiation progress and identify critical tracks to follow. With a clear focus, we hold bilaterals with parties, ensuring that our climate justice positions are heard directly. Our interventions are powerful statements delivered right to the parties, and our actions, from organized protest to policy debriefs, capture the urgency of this moment. We're committed to holding leaders accountable and pushing for real progress, taking every opportunity to amplify youth perspectives on the ground. For our Children and Youth Pavilion, we have the Children and Youth Pavilion for the 3rd year running. The Children and Youth Pavilion is in the blue zone, and it provides a forum to deliberate on the global climate ambitions and actions plans to showcase the competency and drive of young people, and facilitates high-level dialogues, meetings, and workshops with policymakers and world leaders. Throughout COP29, the Children and Youth Pavilion will hold in-person and virtual events, meetings, discussions, workshops, and high-level dialogues, and a dedicated media room for interviews and podcasts, as well as a space for ideation, networking, art, music, spoken word, and more. It is clear that COPs are being used as a vehicle for propagation of fossil fuel exploitation, undermining the core essence of what this process is seeking to achieve. It is absolutely unacceptable that the interests of the fossil fuel lobby continue to be prioritized, and that even discussing phasing out fossil fuels continues to be the elephant in the room. Those who host the COPs have demonstrated that they will use the meetings as an opportunity to do deals, and these conflicts of interest must once and for all be removed from holding back progress any further. You would not invite the tobacco lobby to the World Health Organization, and we must stop bringing the fossil fuel lobby here.
On the presidency's Youth Climate Champion, despite the rushed and forced process that led to the creation of the PYCC in Decision 16 CP28, YOUNGO approached the PYCC with good faith and tried its best throughout this year to engage with them. Unfortunately, several challenges still remain for this role to truly empower children and youth engagement. We are deeply concerned by the lack of communication, transparency, and real engagement with YOUNGO and its member NGOs when it comes to key decision-making processes. This is leading to duplication of efforts, competition for limited human and financial resources, and confusion regarding the role of the PYCC vis-a-vis YOUNGO.
Thank you very much. Those were our statements. We are happy to give them out as well in written to media and also to party members, observers present. We have a couple of minutes left. If you like to ask any questions, please feel free to raise your hand, and I think we have a mic over there as well. Yeah, in the back, please.
Sorry. Thank you. you. I'm just wondering what the youth's position is on the fact that there's fewer leaders here this year, and if you can speak to any concerns or hopes that you have for this COP.
So yeah, for the first part, I think fewer world leaders. Also, with the elections and certain states having internal, let's say, troubles in their coalitions, I think that was kind of expected. But it's also very sad to see, because it's the major COP. That's the climate conference. That's the international event where climate crisis and all its aspects get addressed. And if you don't show up, it clearly shows if it's important to you or not. I think that's something that we all can agree on. To the hopes, I think we all have, or like as YOUNGO generally personally have hopes that this COP really delivers. It's really actionable items, that it doesn't stay with pledges and empty words, but that we see real outcomes, which then help us to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees, to also enable a just transition and a fair and just future for everybody. And we do not leave anyone behind. So I think personally for me, the gender negotiations and those things are quite important, that we include this in all aspects, also for example in finance, and that we do not also forget children and youth in the process.
Hi, thank you very much. This is Shomu from Plan International. We actually support what you just said. My question is that in your second demand, you said direct climate finance to the most vulnerable groups, including young people, should be at least 25%. Our research suggests this is just 1.2% at the moment. Are there any specific recommendations, or how would you want to take this demand forward of 25%? Thank you.
Our position on that is still under development, and hopefully in the coming COP's press conference, we will be updating on that. And if there's any update on our position and our recommended procedures on that, we will be communicating through our press release as well. Thank you for your question.
I don't see any further hands at this point, or do I? If somebody has a question, we are also happy to address this bilaterally outside of the room. And with that, I guess we finish on time. Thank you very much for joining this press conference, and stay updated with YOUNGO.